Hey everyone, it's Dr. Baird at Performance Healthcare Online. Today we're going to go over the level 2 workout for low back pain. So one of the biggest reasons that traditional physical therapy doesn't work for a lot of people is there's nothing really to build on. A lot of times, especially if you go like with in-network physical therapy, you get a sheet, it has like 3 exercises on it, and it's like 3 times a week, do these 12 times for the rest of your life. And again, it works if it's kind of like a little minor set of low back pain, but for somebody who's kind of had back pain that's been recurring, coming and going, never seems to fully go away, we're gonna need to get stronger. And the only way to get stronger is to keep moving forward, to keep progressing. So that's what this level 2 is. It's the next step up from our level 1 workout. So if you've been doing that a while, it's starting to feel pretty easy. It's okay to move on to level 2. So the only thing you need for this workout is going to be, we use a yoga block, but it's going to be something you put in between your knees and squeeze. So soccer balls, basketball, anything that you can kind of put in between your knees and squeeze. A little mini band, circular mini band. Again, this is just a good one to have in your self-care. If you don't have one, I suggest getting one. And then we got back there like a medium to light weight, and that's all we're gonna need. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. It's gonna be the same warm-up that we did last time. So we'll go ahead and get started. Step 1, move your dog off your mat. Thanks, Bandit. All right, so it's gonna be the same setup where we're just gonna do each exercise for a minute. So the first one we're gonna start with a cat-cow. So we're gonna start hands and knees. And again, the cat position, you're gonna let the head hang, tuck your pelvis in, arch through that back. And again, it's morning here, so I'm a little stiff, so I can feel a nice little stretch in that low back, which is good. And then the cow is gonna be the opposite. You're gonna lift your head up and rock that pelvis back. And again, just kind of move nice and slow through this this movement. All we're trying to do is just loosen the joints, get them ready for some movement. A lot of times they can just be really stiff. So you can always, front and back. But as you start to get the hang of it, you can add in wherever you feel tight. If you're feeling tight, you can kind of move to the right. Feeling tight on the left, move to the left. Just really trying to stretch everything out. Good. And then we're going to move into our side lying twists. So again, doing a little bit more just rotation of that spine. We're laying on our side, hands on top, and we're just twisting. This one always feels really good for me because I'm always tight in the morning. So you get a little bit of stretch in that low back. Again, we want it to be a kind of an active stretch, not just like a passive one. Again, we are trying to loosen our joints. One of the ways to do that is movement. So if we just kind of laid here and stretch, you get a nice muscle stretch, but we won't get that movement in the joints. That's going to help with pain, and it's going to feel really good. All right, switching on to the other side. Hands in front. And opening up. So again, you can put a pillow under your head if you need, or you can just rest it on the ground. Again, ideally, your kind of gaze follows this top hand. So you can kind of turn your head as your hand goes out. You want to keep your knees and your hips relatively flat. It's okay if they come up a little bit off the ground there, but what you don't really want to have happen is really kind of like this sort of twist there. All right. Good. We're just going to do one more. Feeling nice and loose. Good. All right. Then we're going to move into our hip stretches. So remember, first one that we're going to stretch, front side of this back leg. So we're gonna slowly, for the first 30 seconds, kind of ease into that movement. So you lean forward over this front foot, come on out of it, and lean back in. And again, we're looking for a stretch here on the front side of that back leg. So it's really important. This is a hip flexor muscle that we're trying to open up. Really important for low back pain if you're tight down here. You can really just kind of pull on that low back. So it's a good one to open up if you're ever having a little bit of low back pain. Good. And then on this one, we're just going to hold it for the last 30 seconds here. So again, I do feel a nice stretch here. If you want to add a little bit more, you can kind of bend to the opposite side. You can lean back. You just got to be careful with the lean back, especially if you're having low back pain. That kind of overextension at the back can cause a little bit of an issue. So if you're okay here, it's fine to stay here. Good. All right, switch to the other side. So now we're stretching out the left hip. Right foot's forward, but it's going to be the same thing. About 30 seconds, sorry, just kind of easing into that position. Feeling that stretch again. Front side of that back leg. Slowly easing out. Moving back in. Pay attention. One side feel tighter than the other. That's pretty common. Find kind of imbalances in different parts of the body. It's important to just kind of like pay attention to what you're feeling. It's not, these aren't meant to be like go through the motion type of exercises. Really pay attention to how you feel so that you know what to focus on when you're doing this at home. All right, we're gonna hold on this one for the last 30 seconds here. This one feels nice and good. Again, if you want to bend over to one side, you want to kind of lean back. Remember just to be careful with that lean back, especially if you're having a little bit of pain in the low back. The other thing you can do if you want to kind of exaggerate that stretch, really kind of squeeze in the glutes here, and that's going to kind of get that pelvis into its locked position to stretch out that front a little bit more. All right, good. Then we're going to stand up. And again, just do kind of our side lunge stretch. So just another hip stretch. Our feet are going to be as wide as possible. You can kind of point the toes at a 45-degree angle. And then again, we're just bending, kind of like a little side lunge, bending over the right and back to the left. So nothing fancy with this one, just another stretch of those hips. This one usually feels pretty good. Again, if you lean a little bit further to the left, you're going to feel that stretch kind of in the groin muscle. Or if you kind of sink a little bit further down here, you're going to feel it more in the hip joint itself. So again, no right or wrong. It's just really wherever you feel tight. Almost there. Again, just paying attention, tuning in with the body, what feels tight, what needs more of a stretch. No right or wrong. Just doing what works best for you. All right, good. We should feel nice and warmed up now. We're gonna get into our workout. So we're gonna start with our glute bridges. So again, glute bridges, one of the most probably safest and most important exercises if you're having low back pain, building strength in the glutes and the hamstrings. This is just a slightly different variation where we're going to take our yoga block or our ball, we're going to put it in between our knees. We're going to do a slight squeeze inward. So it's not squeezing as hard as you can, but maybe like 25% of your max compression here. It's going to create a little bit of tension on the inside of the leg. And then we're going to do those same glute bridges that we did last time where we press through the feet, lift the hips up, and again, squeezing at the top. So at the top here, you should feel a good amount of tension because you're squeezing inward, which is creating tension on the inside of the legs. You're pressing up through the heels, which is creating tension in the glutes here. And that's really what we're going for, that tension, right? So if we can create tension in our muscles, that is what is going to take pressure off of our low back. So we want to train our body to create that tension. And again, unfortunately, just part of our lifestyles, you know, we sit on our butts all day. Those glutes don't have to work. There's no sort of tension. Then when we go to do something active, the glutes aren't kind of prepared for that. And then more force goes through our joints like our low back. So that's what we're really focusing on. How can we create more tension in the body? And this is a great exercise to do that. All right. That was a minute. That was actually pretty tough. Next one, we're going to move in. Again, one you're probably all familiar with. We're going to take our band and we're going to do a monster walk. So all you're going to do, slide the band. We're going to put it slightly above our knees. Really sucks if you have hairy legs like myself, but that's all right. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to start hip width apart. So the main thing with this one is making sure the hips don't go any narrower than hip width. If you get too narrow with this one, you know, you lose all the tension in the band. So start hip width. When the bands are on our feet, again, it's pulling our knees inward like that. So we want to do the opposite. We really want to press our knees out. And then from there, all it is, you're going to go wide, hip width, back, the other way, hip width. So it's just a wide hip width. Again, you want a slight bend in your knees. If you ever played basketball, you know, it's kind of like a defensive slide. That was my sport growing up. And again, so this is a progression, if you remember, from level 1, where we were doing the clamshells. So where we want to feel this is that same area, kind of on the outside. It's our glute med exercise. Good. Keep going. Again, with all these exercises, I don't do reps. I just set a timer for a minute. So I got a timer going here. Remember, I'm not too interested in how many reps you can do. I'm interested in how long you can hold certain positions. And that's why I always do timers instead of reps. Plus it gives you an ending point, which is nice. All right, good. We're gonna take our band off. Again, we use the green band with that one. Honestly, if I were to do it again, I'd probably use the blue band. Has a little bit more resistance to it. I like it a little bit better. Okay, next, we're moving on to an exercise called the running man. This is gonna be our balance exercise and glute med exercise. If you remember, if you watched the first one, we did toe taps in week 1. This is gonna be the progression from toe taps. So we're gonna start on one leg. So again, same idea, we just don't want a locked out knee. We want a slight bend in that knee. If I'm on my left leg, my right leg is up and my left arm is up. So it's like I'm running in place. So again, this is a really tough balance one. If this is tough balance for you, you can just do a hold here. If you fall out of it, kind of put the foot down and try to get back into that position. But the goal is to balance for as long as you can, hold this position for as long as you can. If that's feeling pretty good, then you're gonna run in place. You're gonna bring that arm and that knee back and bring your other arm up. So again, it's just like you're running in place. And then coming back to your starting position. Don't lock out the knee. Keep that slight bend in your knee. So again, if balance is an issue for you, this is gonna be a tough one. I might go back to the toe tap exercise, but if it's pretty good, go ahead and move on to this one. So we're getting close to a minute. Again, balance is feeling good. I'm starting to feel a burn kind of on the outside of the hip right there, which is what we want. All right, and I lost my balance at the end there. That's all right. Okay, same thing, but on the other side. So again, slight bend in the right leg, left knee up, right arm up. So again, you can hold this position here if the balance is getting a little tricky for you, or you just move in. You bring that elbow and knee back, and you bring the other one up. So again, you're just running in place. People actually really like this exercise. I personally, this one isn't one of my favorites, especially with balance, but it is effective. And again, same thing with the toe taps. If you fall out of it, just again, do your best to reset and get right back into it. It's a little bit of a coordination challenge too. Sometimes getting that initial coordination is going to be hard. Again, paying attention, is one side harder than the other? That's pretty common, especially in the lower legs, that one side is going to be a little bit weaker, especially if you've had a surgery on one leg, which I have, so I always feel it more on the left. All right, good. That's a minute. Next, we're going into our suitcase carries. So if you remember or you watched level 1, we did a kettlebell march where we were holding the kettlebell right in front. Now we're going to do a suitcase march. So same principles apply. Again, it's about creating tension. This is a functional core exercise. So what we want is to create tension. So I do a light squeeze on the bell here. That's going to create some tension up the arm. Roll the shoulders back in place. And then it's just going to be a slow and controlled march in place. Nothing fancy to this one. I can turn to the side. Again, you want to maintain that tension throughout. That's going to be a common theme through all these workouts, creating tension, because tension is what takes pressure off of your joints. And that's really all we're trying to do. Make our muscles do the work. You don't want your joints to do the work. That is the most common cause of age-related pain, which is what we're trying to solve here. So, hope it's all starting to make sense. Makes sense to me. That's all that's important, right? All right. Good. So, I'm doing a pretty lightweight. This is, the heavier you go, the more challenging this is. Obviously, it makes it a really good balance challenge for any sort of carry. If you have the option to go heavy, like I like to go heavy with these, it makes you feel it a lot more. Good. All right, switching to the other side. So same thing, weight in my left hand, slight squeeze, create that tension up the arm, roll the shoulders back in place, and just marching in place. Nothing fancy here. Turn to the side. Again, bringing that hip up to 90. Really try to keep it in this 90-90 position, not like, again, loosey. Sometimes people just get like a little loosey-goosey. Really try to keep it 90-90. You can bring that toe up. That's going to create a little tension up the leg too. What's interesting about the single side carry is what you'll find is usually when you stand on one side or lift one leg, the balance becomes a lot harder on one side. It's always interesting to see how people kind of react to that. All right. Nice work. Okay. Next, we are moving into our movement patterns. So again, movement patterns just refers to how we coordinate movements. We're in level 1 and level 2, we're really just kind of practicing further ingraining the movement pattern, and in 3 and 4, we're going to really start to add a little bit of weight so you can get stronger. First one we're going to do, weighted hip hinge. So we're going to use that same weight. If you're new to this, I'd keep it pretty light. You're going to be holding the weight right in front of you here. And so again, the arms are relaxed. This isn't an upper body workout. I'm not bending my arms here. My arms are nice and relaxed. I have loose knees, and then I'm just going to reach my hips back. And again, till I feel tension in my hamstrings. Really important to keep a straight spine here. So again, I feel tension in my hamstrings right about there. Now I could go lower, but that's when I really start to round my low back, which is not what we want. So with the weighted hip hinge, hips back. And again, the hip hinge, such an important movement to understand if you do have low back pain. So be sure to check out my other videos on how to hip hinge. This one, I just want you to go through the workout, but honestly, I could talk for an hour probably on the hip hinge. I've spent, 5 or 6 weeks with certain people. It's not necessarily, if you haven't been moving this way for a long time, it can be a really hard movement to get down. So really make sure you're doing it right, especially as we add weight, which is why I say kind of start light. If you don't feel like you have it right yet, just start with a nice light weight. But if the hip hinge is something you feel comfortable with, you can go heavier. Again, you should only feel tension in the hamstrings. If you feel anything in the low back, something's not right. And you might want to ease off the weight and kind of go back to the form. All right. Good. Next one, movement pattern number 2, squats. So again, really important, just kind of full body movement, but really good at building strength. Once you get the squat down, you can focus on adding weight and making it a lot harder, which we'll do in the next series. But we're still focusing on ingraining the pattern. So one way to do that is to slow the movement pattern down. So all we're gonna do, it's just a tempo air squat. So what that means is I'm just gonna slow it down on the way down. We're gonna do 3 seconds down, 2-second hold at the bottom, and then just stand up normally. So what it looks like is 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, stand up. 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, stand up. Good. You got to go slower than it feels like. The most common mistake people have with this one is they still go too fast. They slow it down a little bit, but it's really, really slow. 3 seconds on the way down is a long time with a 2-second hold at the bottom. Good. So with the squat, for our sake, really make sure that when you initiate that movement, that first movement, I call it unlocking at the hips. Send the hips back and then come down. Other things to pay attention to. For our sake, again, I want you to stop where your thighs are parallel. You could talk a lot about deep squats, shallow squats. For our sake, we just want to stop right at parallel. It's safe. If you go too low, you can get into an unstable position. Just not what we want. Good. Okay. So those are our tempo squats. Last one, lunging series. Now we did step ups in level 1. We're officially going to get into our lunging series. So try this one out. Again, if you're having any sort of knee pain, this one just doesn't feel great, it's okay to go back to the step ups. But what we're going to do is a split squat. So we're just going to be in this split stance here. All we're going to do is drop that right knee. So just dropping that knee, pressing up off this front leg to come back up. So this is kind of the entry level for our lunging pattern because we've got kind of 2 points of balance. So the balance is a little bit easier because we don't have to lift our legs. But it's still challenging. I mean, I'm still feeling the burn on that left foot. That's really where we want to feel it. Again, if you are having knee pain or anything, you might not be here yet, which is okay. I would go back to the step ups that we did in level 1. That's why it's nice to have these progressions. You might progress in some exercises faster than you progress in other exercises. That's all right too. But having options to go back. Good. All right, we're gonna switch to the other side. And now we're just dropping that left knee back, pressing up off the front. So, I forgot to mention, if this is a tough exercise for you, instead of doing a minute straight, you can do kind of 30 seconds each side. I just did a minute straight, and it was pretty hard, but that's all right. Doing hard things is good. That's how you get stronger. Getting stronger is hard. If you need to, take a break, shake out your legs, that's fine too. Or you can just power on through. Dropping that left knee. Again, always paying attention. One side feel easier than the other, harder than the other. I'm starting to breathe a little heavy here. We got one more round after this, so get ready. Whew. All right, stand up, shake it out. So again, slightly harder, but it should feel pretty good. I got a nice little sweat going. So what we're gonna do, take a little break, grab some water if you want. We're gonna move into round 2. So we're not going to need to do the warm-ups again since you should be feeling pretty warm. So we're going to start with that glute bridge squeeze. So grab your block, your ball, whatever you put in between your knees. You're going to put it, again, 25% squeeze of that block, pressing through the feet, and coming up. Good. Again, maintaining that squeeze in on the block that whole time. When you come to the top, again, there should be a lot of tension. Hamstring, glutes, lower leg. Tension is what is going to take pressure off of your low back joints. So we're focusing on how to create as much tension as possible. Should be starting to get a little tired. Round 2 is usually a little harder than round 1. 10 more seconds. And done. All right. Set your block to the side. Take your band. Roll it up over your knees. Grimace when it pulls out a hair. Never fun. Okay. All right. So we got our monster walk. So again, hip width, pressing those knees out. You're going to go wide, hip width, wide, hip width. Nothing fancy here, just again, really make sure you got a slight bend in your knees. So you're not kind of doing a straight leg. Again, not necessarily bad, but it's going to put more pressure on your knees. When you're in any sort of locked out position, you start to rely on your joints a little bit more than your muscles. And that's the opposite of what we want. We want you to rely on your muscles more than your joints, which is why we focus on getting stronger. That's the number one cause, I would say, of age-related pain. We start to lose all that strength that we had when we were younger. So the activities that our body used to be able to handle, can't handle anymore. So you gotta work to build the strength to maintain your ability to do that. All right. Take the band off into our balance exercise, our running man. So again, if this one's too hard, the balance is too hard, you can always go back to the toe taps. If we're starting on left leg, slight bend in the knee, right knee up, left hand up. Just running in place, you can hold here, or you can run in place. I do a slight hinge at my hip there. Just make sure your spine stays in a nice neutral position so it's not kind of like rounding down like that. As long as your spine is neutral, you'll be all right. Whew. Starting to get a little sweaty myself. Hopefully you're feeling the burn. Again, paying attention. One side feel harder than the other side. That might be a side we need to spend a little more time on, or it's important to do these kind of single leg exercises to get that balance back. All right, good. Switching to the right, slight bend in the knee, left knee up, right hand up. See, that coordination, I already got it wrong. Good. All right. So it's your left knee, your right hand up. Bring both back. Bring your other arm up. If you fall out of it, just try to quickly get back into the position. This one is important. It's more important how long you can balance on this leg. So if the movement really throws off your balance and you're falling all over the place, I'd rather have you just do a static hold right here. The longer you can hold this position, the more of that burn you're going to feel on the outside of that stance leg. That's that glute med that's working. It's the one that supports us while we're standing on single legs. So if you're a runner, hiker, or walker, this is super important muscle to get stronger. Good. All right, into our suitcase march. So we're gonna grab our weight again. If you have variations of weight, you wanted to try a little bit heavier, that's all right. Again, light squeeze on the weight, roll the shoulders back, wipe the sweat off of your face, and go. So again, just an easy march in place. Again, we want to maintain that tension. It's a nice little balance exercise if balance is an issue, but more importantly, it is a functional core strengthening exercise. So if you have a heavier weight and you wanted to try it with a heavier weight, that's when you're really going to feel that core work. Which I really like. So again, just march in place, keep the legs 90-90, just like a second hold at the top, so you're not really holding, but you're also not marching super fast in place. You do want that balance to kind of kick in a bit. All right, good. Switch to the other side, slight squeeze, roll the shoulders back, and ooh, I lost my balance there, good. March, march. Again, slowing everything down with all these exercises. One of the things that happens when people exercise, they just get going too fast. The slower you can go, the more control you can have over your movement, the less pain that you're gonna have. Honestly, the exercises I think are harder. You know, you go to like CrossFit gyms and stuff and it's like, do as many reps as you can as fast as possible. For me, it's the more you slow it down, the more control you have over the movement, the harder the movement becomes, the stronger I feel like you get. And it's also safer. So again, it protects your joints when you're paying attention to what you're doing. Fancy that. All right. Good. A little bit of a balance. A little bit of a core strength. Again, just creating that tension. You got that squeeze on the weight, rolling those shoulders back, and done. Okay, getting into our movement pattern. So again, we're gonna start with the weighted hip hinge. I'm gonna go a little bit heavier weight if you have it. If you have the movement down, I like the heavy weight. So again, arms stay nice and relaxed, hips go back. So it should be, again, kind of like a nice, almost triangle position here at the end. Keep working through it, making sure the movement is reaching your hips back. The weight should be pulling you straight down. If I were to drop it, it would land right in between my feet. So if you're kind of coming forward, doing more of a drinking bird, and that weight is traveling forward, it's not quite right. And even there, I felt it in my low back. So you gotta be really careful with this hip hinge. Don't go to a heavier weight until you really, really understand this movement, what it should look like, what it should feel like. Again, at the bottom, I feel that nice pull in my hamstrings. I shouldn't feel anything in my low back. Last one here. Back up. All right. Tempo squats. So tempo squats are feeling a little easy. You can add a little bit of weight if you want. If not, we're just gonna do the same. 3 seconds down. 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, and stand up. 3, 2, 1. 1, 2. Stand up. 3, 2, 1. 1, 2. Good. Again, just really slowing it down. We're practicing on just ingraining that squat pattern. What I mean by ingrain is basically we just want it to be automatic, so you don't have to always think about it. Hips back, straight spine, you know, like you don't want to have to run through that every time you go down to sit in a chair. You want to have done this so much that your body just kind of naturally does it. All right, last one. 3, 2, 1. 1, 2. And back up. Last movement, split squats. So what we're gonna do, get into that split stance, and we're just dropping that back knee, pressing up off that front leg. Almost done, just 2 more minutes. You can tell it's a little bit harder than level 1, which is what we want. That's how you get stronger. That's how you improve. You do things that are slightly harder than they were before. It's also how you build confidence, and that's honestly what we're going for with all these exercises. I'd say half the people I see, it's not even the physical pain that limits them. It's that confidence factor that, you know, my knee doesn't hurt right now, but I knew if I went and hiked out in the gorge that my knee would hurt. So I just don't go hiking, you know? It's not like that physical pain itself that keeps them from hiking. And so that's what these exercises are really great for. It's building confidence. Hey, I can actually do this movement and it didn't hurt. Let me try that hike. Then you go on the hike. Hey, wow, that wasn't so bad. All right, last minute here. Split stance. Ooh, man. Really starting to feel it. Again, round 2, always a bit harder than round 1. Whew. Again, if you're having any sort of knee pain, knee issues, it's okay to move back to the step-ups. Good. Keep going. Last 30. And then you're done. Drop that back knee. Press up. Whew. Man. Starting to burn. 10 seconds. Finish it out strong. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right. So there you have it. That was our level 2 workout for low back pain. The idea is you can do this like 3 times a week for a couple of weeks, and then we'll post our level 3 workout next. So again, if you have fun, any questions, leave a comment below. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and join our emailing list. Thanks for watching.